that's big business. Hit 10, but that's big pimpin'. My potential, that's infinite. Pin game insane. Make hits like King Griffin, a 10th inning.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 43 of the 10th Inning Podcast. As always, I'm Sean. He's Dan. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. I got vitamin water for me right now, Sean. First, I think flu game in a while for us. You catch me on a Thursday, Sean. Thursdays, I am a shell of a man. We're talking softball back-to-back nights, Tuesday, Wednesday, out till 3, 4 in the morning, both nights. Then I get up, on Thursdays, I got work from 9 till like 6:30. So it's Thursday night, it's over. I've already thrown up tonight. That's just the normal course of the week. When you're a rock star living that rock star life, Sean, we talk about it. It is, it all comes to get you at some point in the week, and you've seen it today. Even Soto's like, man, I can't even I'm blurry. I just can't make it through the day.
Yeah.
I'll be actively looking for a better background during this podcast. So hopefully maybe midway through you get a better background. But we'll see. Maybe you don't. This is just a good representation of how I feel. But that's not the energy we're going to bring to you, because I care about you. And this is going to be a phenomenal episode. We're going to break down all the trades that went down, the winners, the losers. Me and Sean's favorite color might even get discussed. You don't know. I don't know.
You really don't know.
Sean, you're the host, man. You take it away. Tell me what you want to do.
Yeah, I'm super excited for this episode. Unless you're living under a rock, you'll know that the MLB trade deadline ended 2 days, right? 2 days ago, and on Tuesday at 6 o'clock. A lot of trades went down, a lot of head-scratching moves, a lot of good moves, a lot of bad moves, some confusing ones, a little bit of everything. It's kind of a smorgasbord of moves.
Great word.
I fit that word in there somewhere.
Great word.
But yeah, I mean, do you want to start with the biggest move of the deadline?
Sean, if you want to jump into it, we can jump into it.
Sure.
I'm ready to go about this however you want to do it. I can go team by team. I can just give grades. I can talk about specific trades. I want you to tell me what to do with my body, Sean. If I got to take off my, you know what I mean? You tell me, I'm here for it.
All right. Well, the biggest trade of the deadline, hands down, Trey Mancini goes to the Houston Astros.
Oh, you see, I had Darren Ruff. You had Trey Mancini. I mean, both valid arguments. They're both valid arguments. I mean, both friends of the pod. I don't think there have been two bigger friends of the pod than Trey Mancini and Darren Ruff.
I tried finding the card that you got me for Christmas, the Darren Ruff rookie card. Yeah. I know where it is, but I can't find the bin it's in since I packed up from school.
Sure, that's an auto. That thing goes for $15 million. You got to find it.
I know. I wanted to be a little object that I held on the counter today, and frankly, I let the pod down. But I will have it next episode. I promise.
There you go.
But yeah, all jokes aside, you want to just jump into Trey Mancini first and then go to Darren?
Yeah, sure.
All right. So do you want me to just lay out the trade, and then you can give your opinion?
Lay it out.
So the Astros get Trey Mancini and right-hand pitcher Jaden Murray. The Orioles in return get Seth Johnson, who's a pitcher, right-hand pitcher, and they also get right-hand pitcher Chase McDermott. And then there's a 3-team trade in this. The Rays get Jose Siri.
That's right.
So a nice little 3-way trade. You don't get as much of those in baseball, although this deadline we did get a few of them.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the move for the Houston Astros. I really do. They didn't really give up much. It's kind of a tough thing for the Orioles. They're on the fringe. They're in one of those no man's lands. The first time in 5 years they've been competitive. They're right around 500 and only like 3 games out of the wild card. But they are of the opinion of might as well see what we can get this year and then next year come back into it. And I think I saw a tweet somewhere saying that the GM or maybe the owner of the Orioles said they're going all out in the free agency this year. So maybe this was the last of the rebuilding moves made, and they're going to really stock up here in the offseason. Do I like seeing him go to the Astros? Absolutely not. I wanted the Mets to get him, and the Astros. But I think that any team that gets Trey Mancini is getting a solid player and an even better person who's going to be huge for the clubhouse that already has Michael Brantley. As much as we love to, express our love for him, he is a really good clubhouse guy, and that's a good locker room down there in Houston for all, that's been said about them and other things.
Yeah, I think, to be honest with you, as I think I tripled the improvement in the background. I think it's one of those rare 3-team trades, and honestly, everyone got something of intrigue. I mean, the Astros obviously get Trey, but because the Rays get thrown in there, the Orioles end up getting a better prospect, the pitching prospect from the Rays. And then the Astros get a little bit of a sneaky move in Jose Siri, a guy with some speed. Not the Astros, I'm sorry. The Rays get a guy with a little bit of speed in Jose Siri, someone that they can take, probably fix up a little bit. And when you talk about a small market team, you don't look for players that can do it all. Like, I'm just going to bring Acuna to mind because he's more of a 5-tool player. You look for players that can do one thing really well, and you put them together. Jose Siri can run really well, and no matter what you say, even if that's his only tool, it has a lot of value when put in the right place. Pinch runner, defensive replacement, and that's the kind of style of play that the Rays use, and I'm sure they'll utilize him to the best of his ability, get the most value out of him in the playoffs if they make it there. So I think it did work out for all three.
He did already make a great diving catch yesterday for the Rays.
Yeah, that's what like Trey Mancini's the big name, but I'm sure the Rays are going to get value out of Siri, and hopefully that pitching prospect pans out for Baltimore.
Yeah, I like that trade for all teams involved. I really do. And then I guess while we already mentioned it, you want to go to the Darren Ruff Mets trade real quick?
Oh, of course. I mean, this has to be the greatest trade in Mets history. I am, after we talk about these trades, I think maybe we could start going down a list and like going through what different teams did and giving them grades or whatever, because I'm sure you can't wait to hear my grade for the New York Mets, because and what they did is they traded JD Davis, who obviously, as you know, is nowhere near the caliber player that Darren Ruff is. And all they had to do was add in a couple extra prospects, and they got Darren Ruff. They added 3 little prospects, Sean, and JD Davis, and they got 10 times the better player. In return, you got to be thrilled as a Mets fan at home, because if you would have traded a player who's basically the same as the other player and then included prospects, I could understand where you'd be like, what are we doing? But when you bring in Darren, we're talking Darren Ruff right now, Sean. I mean, you got to be thrilled. You have to be thrilled.
Well, I'll put it this way. When I saw the first initial thing from MLB come across my phone notification, it said Mets Giants strike a deal for outfielder. I thought Josh Peterson. I was like, this is fantastic.
Oh, you would
I see Darren Ruff. I'm like, all right, little underwhelming. All right, he's okay. JD Davis. I'm like, all right, like him, good guy, but not playing all this year. 3 prospects. 3 prospects and JD Davis. Not to mention one of the pitching prospects is one of our top pitching prospects, and Thomas Zappucki, who came up this year and gave up 9 runs in the first inning to the Giants, but he is a talented guy. And 2 other pitching prospects who I believe in the lower levels. I think JD Davis for Darren Ruff would have been fine straight up. I don't understand why you had to throw in 3 prospects for a guy who's going to play just against lefties, because Vogelbach is going to play against righties. They're going to switch. Both their splits are very good against the opposing arms, opposing pitchers. But I love Darren Ruff, but oh boy, that's a nope.
I'll try and make you feel a little better. Your aggravation was not alone today, as JD Davis and the San Francisco Giants. Sorry.
He hit a home run in his first game with the Giants.
Yeah, Sean. Well, they were playing the Dodgers, and Clayton was pitching. JD Davis went the opposite way against Clayton in his first at bat with the Giants, it seems, and then Clayton proceeded to leave the game about an inning later with back issues. So today's been a tough day for me, Sean. It's been a tough day. Even that, like, I thought I was happy with that. The Mets, I thought, had a bad trade, and then all of a sudden he goes Clayton and gets him injured. So it didn't seem to work out for anyone in New York.
No.
Yeah, that's all I got to say about Darren. God bless Darren Ruff. I'm sure he goes nuts.
Vogelbach's been on fire, so I'll give him
Oh,
that.
he's a cutie. That guy's a cutie.
Three home runs in like 3 straight games. He had a grand slam yesterday, another home run tonight.
That's all he does. Big boy.
Can't
8
get much
seconds.
bigger.
8 seconds, second to home. That's it.
That's it. Yeah.
That's all it is. Well, what do you want to do now, Sean? How you feeling?
I'll let you take the reins here on
right.
what trades you want to go to, and then I'll just little Santa Claus reindeer.
I might just take over the whole podcast and do just because of the way my thing has it set up on the way my notes are. I'm gonna go back to alphabetical order and we'll just run through it because who doesn't like a good Alfie?
I love Alpha.
The Arizona Diamondbacks, Sean. They made some moves. They made some moves. How did you feel about their trade deadline? If you need a reminder, I will of course remind you. They traded David Peralta to the Rays for a prospect, and they got Emmanuel Rivera as a prospect by trading Luke Weaver. So they let go of Weaver and Peralta, bringing in 2 prospects.
Yeah. These trades, we'll give the grades right now, but in all reality, it's tough to give a grade.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what these prospects are going to be. I think they got a fair return, for the trades. I don't think any of the prospects are going to be the next, Babe Ruth. But for all things considered, I think they did a, solid job with what they had.
Yeah.
I know they also wanted to be looking to trade Bumgarner, but with that contract, it made it a little difficult and end up holding on to him. I would say it's an average return. I wouldn't say they exceeded expectations or fell flat. It's kind of one of those trades that is, 5 years from now, you'll be able to get a better grasp on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I gave them a C, kind of like what you're saying. Yeah, like you said, I'm not even going to try and get into the prospects when they're like this low level. I don't know. Even me, I got no clue.
Yeah.
But I gave him a C because, I think they should have traded Bumgarner. I think they should have got something. I know it's tough because of the contract, but you're not going to get anything from him, and this is the best he's going to be, I think. I think this is the best time to trade him, and as a rebuilding team, I think it's a failure to not move him. So that's why I had them at a C.
Yeah, like good point. Bumgarner is not likely he has a season like this again with his age and everything.
Yeah, this was the time. Moving on to the Hotlanta Braves. I'll start out here. I had them, Sean. I hate to tell you, but a lot of these NL East teams, they had pretty good grades from me. Braves came in at an A-. I didn't get a lot of A's out, Sean. They picked up a great reliever in Iglesias for almost nothing, which is something we'll talk about with the Angels. Angels grade. Sean, I'm not even. I'll talk about it when we get to the Angels. They picked up an underrated outfielder, just like last year, and Robbie Grossman. When they got obviously a bunch of underrated outfielders that we spoke about at length, and they gave you someone who can give you length, like Jake Odorizzi, who's been in that long relief role, been in the starting role. He's done it all. He's a veteran, and I think that's something important, more important than bringing in than keeping Will Smith. When you have a younger / injury prone-ish staff, they got Fried and Morton, but they got guys like Spencer Strider and some other guys getting really important innings that are kind of younger. So I like bringing in another starter just in case. I thought they had a really, really good deadline. They kind of fixed whatever they needed to, and they didn't need to do much.
Yeah. It hurts me to say that, but yeah, I think they knocked it out of the park, no pun intended. Obviously, last year, every move they made turned to gold. I like the Odorizzi because, like you said, they got a veteran arm in there. And as you see in the postseason, a lot of times the veteran arms are the ones that are the best. Like we just talked about Bumgarner as a horse. Charlie Morton last year, the guy pitched on a broken leg for like an inning. And he carried him through the postseason. And Odorizzi's got a track record, so you know what you're getting with him. No surprises there. I also really liked – hold on, my notes just went away. Of course they did. Iglesias. I'll go offhand here. I had some notes here. But anyway, the Angels – we'll get to the Angels. They signed him before your extension, then trade him. I don't know. They in my opinion, fleeced the Angels on that trade. Glacius is he's having, I guess, a bit of a down-ish year, but still not that bad at all. It's backup for Kenley Jansen because Jansen's out with a regular heartbeat once again, and he's always kind of in and out because of that condition. So that's a solid, more than solid closer to get in that role. I think they did a great job there. And then Grossman got a career year last year, having a down year this year. They're able to get him pretty cheap, which is a good way to do it because, if he doesn't perform well, he didn't give up much for him. But if he does do well, it makes you look like a genius, which is pretty much what happened last year with all those guys, the outfielders they acquired at the deadline as well. I think they knocked, as I said, I almost said it again. I almost said the pun again. I won't say it. I think they had a great deadline. As a Mets fan, it's not what I want to see because it's almost flashbacks to last year. But if I had to give them a grade, because I don't think I gave the last I want a grade. This one, I would probably give them a B+.
Yes, sir. Moving on to the Baltimore Orioles, swinging to the AL East. I gave him a B+, Sean. From like you said about the GM saying they're going to be aggressive next offseason. Another thing he said, he hinted at, they might even do Aroldis Chapman to the New York Yankees vibe and sign Mancini back. So this whole thing could be a wash. If they get, it's a maybe, but if they get Mancini back, the fans will be going crazy. And they got a good amount for Jorge Lopez, who until this season hasn't really been good. He had a 6 ERA before this year. So he got hot. They flipped him. They didn't get worse for next year. They got stuff, and they didn't get worse for next year. I think they're in a great spot. B+.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'd give him a B+ as well. I think Mancini's coming back. I mean, if you saw when he was traded, that the I guess statement he released about, he basically said Baltimore changed his life and saved his life. Because obviously he had cancer. But I think that he could come back. I think they did what they needed to do. I think it was smart on their behalf to not necessarily get too caught up in the fact they're 2.5 games out of a wild card spot at the time of the trade deadline, and see that it's more fool's gold than anything else. If you make the wild card, you're probably getting bounced first round anyway. So I think it was smart for them to stock back up on some prospects and then go all for it next year.
I completely agree. Moving on to another AL East team, Sean. The Boston Red Sox. This was the only team I did not give a grade. What I put is a question mark. That is their grade. My only comments are, please explain. Someone please explain to me what's going on, because I am deeply confused. And I was a little bit deeply confused in my projections for them. They were in a tough spot. I'm not going to say they had like a clearly easy route of what they should be doing. They have a lot of good players, but they're not going to win this year. So they were in a hold kind of situation. But they didn't hold, Sean. They did both. You know what I mean? They just made weird moves that I didn't understand. I guess they held, but in a weird way.
Yeah. First off, Christian Vasquez getting traded prior to the game, and then the media right there. I know trades come together quickly, but could you have done that in a worse way? I mean, the guy was
rush him off.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess they rushed him off because it was, they didn't want him saying anything bad. I don't know, but
that's the part I don't like. Fuck. I mean, he's not your player anymore. You can't even rush him off. It's not even your responsibility. Let him say what he's gonna say.
That was just bizarre. And they're playing in Houston. I feel like they could have been handled better.
Yeah.
But besides the point, they trade him away, and they acquire Tommy Pham for prospects, which is kind of bizarre because don't you think they would want more prospects than giving up prospects for a guy who has a mutual option in the offseason? So most likely he won't be back, and if he was, it would be a bit of a shocker. And the cherry on top is Eric Hosmer. I know the Padres are covering most of that salary, so he's kind of playing for them for free in a sense. And he's got, I think, 3 player options in the next 3 years. He's most likely going to opt in because there's no way he's getting anywhere close to that much money at this point in his career. I Yeah, like I said, I'm going into this. I said they would stand pat, but I was not totally sure that they would. They decided to do both, as you mentioned. Um, I think that some of these moves are made to maybe give a little bit of a bolt or a boost to the clubhouse because they are still, they didn't trade away any huge assets that would
No.
hurt their chances. And frankly, you win 5 games in a row and you're right in the third wild card hunt with this extra wild card spot for the playoffs. I think that's kind of what they're going for. Alex Cora said something along the lines of um, the guys in the line, it's probably not true, but he said the guys in the locker room are much higher today. Their morale's higher. And also it's big for like Xander Bogaerts and some of the guys who Endeavor's not getting traded to kind of take a deep breath. So maybe they go on a little bit of a run. They got a lot of veterans now, not that they didn't before, but a weird way to go about things for the Boston Red Sox.
Yeah, definitely a weird way to go about things. Another weird way to go about things, Sean. Talking about more socks here, Sean. The ones that are white. Chicago, man. I had them being kind of pretty aggressive, doing some things out there, and they quite literally did nothing, Sean. They did what I thought maybe the Boston Red Sox should do. The problem is they needed to do everything. They've been aggressive before. They've been aggressive in free agency. They've been aggressive at deadlines. They've built a team. They're supposed to be the favorite in the Central. They have underperformed again and again. And now they just seem disinterested. With Abreu at 38, I mean, like, what are you doing? The AL Central was kind of yours to take. It's still not that far away. There's still not a clear best team going into the deadline. I think that changed. We'll talk about the Twins later. They're the only ones that did something. I just, what is what's the goal now? Like, what is the goal out there? You're going to hear me say that a lot on this podcast. I think that's a big problem or a big solution to some of these things. It's like self-awareness. Like, what is the goal? What are we actually trying to do, and how can we achieve that? They had no intention. They don't even know what they're doing. I don't know. Sean, explain to me what's the goal here.
I don't know. On the earlier podcast, our preview for the trade deadline, I think I said that there's always the chance that they don't make any moves and just chalk this up to everybody's underperforming and they might as well not spend capital and assets to rectify the season and just kind of let it play out as it's going to play because next year no one's going to be doing this bad and the injuries won't be as bad. I kind of said that now thinking they would do that. They did do that. It's been kind of a mess over there on the in Chicago. There was it South Side where the Sox players.
Yep.
I think South Side. Yeah, they put themselves behind the 8 ball. I think maybe they're even third best in that division right now.
Yeah.
When the Guardians toss up, I guess. I don't know I don't know how they're going to finish out the season. They could get hot. They got, like I said, players underperforming and injured. I don't think they're going to win the division. I just don't think they have it in them. It's just been a weird year. And I think the Sox could have flipped a bit there. The Red Sox should have done what the White Sox did, as you mentioned. Weird scenario there.
Just to be clear, I gave them an F for their trade deadline grade.
Yeah.
Because there was no confusion there. Sticking with the sad news, Sean, I think the Chicago, the White Sox caught it from the Red Sox because it was in the Sox. They took the laundry out. They had the bleach in there. The red turned white. They didn't realize they put it on. Had the Red Sox actual socks on, even though they're white. They got the disease. All of a sudden, Chicago walks outside. The Cubs are there. The Cubs catch through the air. You know how the disease was all over the place.
Yeah.
Chicago Cubs with an F grade. I mean, this is terrible. How do you not trade Contreras or half? Contreras is quite possibly one of the most sought-after players at the deadline. I know there's Soto and other people out there, but catcher's a position of need for so many of these contenders, and they don't flip Contreras? That's the reason Vasquez went, because everyone's calling on a catcher, and they're not trading Contreras. What are you doing? What are you doing if you're Chicago? Generally, the whole fucking city. What are you doing in Chicago? Sorry.
I agree. The whole time I kept refreshing Twitter, like, all right, Contreras, because everybody's like, oh, once the Padres made the trade, teams for Contreras, maybe, the Mets, some other teams in that mix. And apparently the talk was they wanted to package Robertson and Contreras together to get the maximum value. Robertson gets traded, goes to the Phillies. Contreras is still there, and Ian Happ. And you're kind of wondering what's going on. The fact they didn't trade Contreras is just asinine. Happ, I've heard that they are trying to re-sign to a contract extension, and I think both sides are working on that. So that wasn't as surprising to me. But Contreras, it seems like he's all but gone. You're going to let him walk in free agency just for all you get is a first-round pick? That's great and all, but you could have got some top prospects, at least probably 2 top 5 prospects in a team's organization, and instead you let him stick around. And plus that hug they did in the dugout, that's kind of bizarre now.
I don't understand that.
I mean, how do you think Contreras feels? I'm sure he loves the Cubs in Chicago and all, but the whole first half of the season he was like, all right, I'm getting traded. I'm going to be on a contender. I could win a World Series this year. I wouldn't be surprised if he sees production tail off a bit, just the morale, the mindset. I'm stuck in Chicago. We're god awful. And, what's there to play for every single day? I just don't understand that at all. The Cubs have totally, messed up their post-World Series situation.
Yeah.
I mean, they got some prospects in last year's deadline for some of their big names, but they really have fallen quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, and to talk about the mindset, even he's stuck in Chicago, but it's like, I'm stuck in Chicago, and it's not because they didn't trade because they want to re-sign me. I'm stuck on a team that doesn't even really want me. I have no future here anyway. It's not like I'm coming back here. So really, what is the point? I'm not coming back here, and now I can't win. I don't know. It's a really odd move.
Yeah.
Moving on, Sean, I didn't think I'd ever say anything like this about the Cincinnati Reds in my life, especially this season. They received maybe not the only, but the first full-blown A, Sean. I really enjoyed what the Cincinnati Reds did. Listen, self-awareness, right? They had a fire sale. They've done this before, but I really think not only did they have a fire sale and sold the right pieces, they got a loot back. And I'm a little biased. They traded for some of my favorite prospects out there. Noelvi Marte was actually going to be this past week's minor league highlight. Victor Acosta, I may have either talked on the channel before about. I know it's on some other videos that I've made personally. I have a bunch of prospect cards of Victor Acosta as well. He's like only 18, I understand, but he's phenomenal. They got some. I mean, I think they might have landed the 2 best prospects in Marte and Acosta. Like that Castillo deal, they damn near got as much value as the Nationals did for Soto and Bell. I'll talk about that later. Obviously, they got a haul as well. Robert Hassel's fantastic. I'm not a huge Abrams guy. I think that's why I'm saying this. Hassel's definitely better than Acosta. The point is the Reds got a haul back, and they traded everyone they had to. They traded everyone they could. They got value back, so I think they're in a better position today organizationally than they were before. A much better position. So I give them an A.
Yeah, I don't know what's more surprising: the Reds doing something well, or the Mariners actually giving up top prospects to win. Normally, it's the other way around. They're getting rid of the players. But yeah, Castillo, he got more of a return than I thought. I think it surprised everybody. But the Reds did what they needed to do. They also traded away Pham, which his package is still to be determined. It hasn't been announced yet. Player to be named later, I think. And then also Brandon Drury, who I don't have that trade right in front of me, but I think they got,
That was the Acosta trade.
That was okay. All right. Yeah. But yeah, no, they did what they needed to do. They already have some young guys up on the team right now. Stevenson and India. Obviously these prospects are a couple years away, but still, I think they organizationally improved in this deadline.
Yeah. Moving on to the Cleveland Indians.
Guardians.
I'm sorry, Cleveland Guardians. Thank you.
Okay.
My grade for them was just not available, Sean, because really the grade is just sell the team. Like, I am sick and what's the goal, Cleveland? I guess it's just to make money. That's the answer, right? That's the answer that they're basically telling us without saying it out loud. How are you constantly? I bet you the owners are just sick and tired of being in the race at the deadline. Because every year they try and put a shit team out there, and every year they're right in the thick of fucking winning the division. And like, God, now we gotta look like assholes for not doing anything. I mean, like, they could win. This division is so winnable, and they have the pitching, and they have the defense, and they have okay offense as per the usual, and an MVP candidate in JoJo. Do something, anything. Like, it's not like they're selling to get better for the future either. Like, do something. Do something to have a chance at winning at some point. Anything. Don't even spend money. Just do something to win later or now. Anything. It's ridiculous.
It makes zero sense. Every year they imagine if they didn't get rid of any of their players they had from 2016. That's a while back, right? But let's just say, like, they would have won a World Series. They had a very, very good team. That pitching staff, they're all stars from that era at some point in their career. Like you said, they could easily win the division if they put some money back into the team. I don't understand why owners don't do that. We've talked before. I don't want to get into it, but there's got to be some sort of way to hold owners accountable to at least try and attempt at having success. If you were a fan of the Cleveland Guardians, what would you be thinking every single year? Like, oh, we got a good team, but the ownership is going to, somehow find a way to sell it off. It's like literally the movie Major League. Like, every time they get a good player, they trade him. No, and they got Jose Ramirez, which, I think that they re-signed him. Like, all right, let's call it good. We did enough to make the fans happy for a little bit. Let's just, we got him.
I can't imagine JoJo. I guess he, because he took a pay cut too, but I guess the stability is nice and he knows where he is. He's got a house there, he's comfortable. He's playing well, but I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be happy there. They don't even try. They just don't try. It's like even the Angels, right? Or some of the other teams that I've been like, Chicago, like, what are you doing? Even the Cubs, what are you doing? But they actually try. They suck. They make terrible decisions, Sean. They're awful. They're all terrible teams. But you know what they do? They actually try. They just fail. And I'd rather you fail while trying than not try at all. And that's what the Guardians' issue is they're not even really running a team. They just run guys out there collecting revenue and calling it a night.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of aggravating. Moving on to the Colorado Rockies. We're in a bad stretch here, Sean. I gave them an F. So they didn't trade Iglesias, which now means that Ezekiel Tovar, one of their top prospects, who's been kind of knocking on the door there, is not going to get any reps at the end of the season, which he certainly should for his development. And instead of flipping Daniel Bard, their one, kind of big asset they could have got some prospects for, they re-signed him to a 2-year extension. I'll remind you, in neither of those years will they be competitive. That's shocking. This is one of those things, maybe they're trying, and they're still better than the Guardians for it. But what? I mean, the Rockies have had some head scratches the last couple of years. I mean, the way they dealt with Nolan, they signed him, and then 8 minutes later traded him. They didn't do jack squat with Trevor Story. I mean,
we thinking Wilson Contreras is bad, not getting traded. Trevor Story not getting traded is even worse.
And then why would you sign Daniel Bard? Daniel Bard must have been in shock. He must have been like, Daniel, we got to talk to you. Come to the office. Like, all right, where am I going? I'm the only good player here that's worth value. He's like, no, Daniel, we want to sign you back to 2 years. What is he going to do there in 2 years? They're not doing anything the next 2 years. Who makes a signing during the deadline if you're not? Who extends someone in the deadline who's not competitive for the next couple of years? That doesn't even make sense. You would just do it in free agency and pick up whoever's cheap. I am literally shocked by that move. God bless
If he has
him.
a halfway decent year next year, they're going to talk about trading him then too. So what does it make the
6-year
difference?
extension next year, Sean. It's a 6-year extension.
Isn't he like 38 years old?
Yeah, Sean. I don't know how old Daniel Bard is. Last time he pitched was 24, 2004. So I can't imagine he's young.
Like what? What's
Bard
he
is
gonna do?
37. Yeah.
What's he gonna do? Like the fact they didn't trade him is just asinine. I still get over the fact they got rid of everybody who was good and then signed Chris Bryant. I still can't get over that fact. But the Rockies, dare I say, I know you said the Guardians, but I think the Rockies may be the most poorly run organization in baseball.
Yeah.
Like you said, the moves are just like they're a walking contradiction.
Rockies are the most poorly run. The Guardians aren't run. They don't run the organization. That's the issue.
Yeah. Oh, that's just so bad.
So
I saw that and I laughed.
Yeah.
I couldn't stop laughing.
Moving on to Detroit. Finally getting a little bit better here. I gave him a C, Sean. It's nice to see something not in the D or F category. They could have traded Gregory Soto, their closer, or Andrew Chafin. Another couple of bullpen arms that really could have been moved for a team that still needs to rebuild and get prospects. I think that was a big miss for them not to just trade everyone they could. But they did make a couple deals, and then in the deals they made, they got decent returns. So I mean, it's a C. You know, it's tough because they're not really, you know, they traded Grossman and Michael Fulmer, but you know. They didn't get great for the future, but they certainly weren't buying anyway. So it's tough to give much more than a mistake.
Yeah, these moves certainly don't move the needle in either direction. They're kind of just, it happened. I feel like there were a lot of teams this year who kind of were in between, or even if they were buyers or sellers per se, they didn't exactly make the moves like we talked about with the Cubs.
Yeah.
I think the Tigers, the assets they had, they still probably wouldn't have got much for, even though like Chafin had a good year. So I think they just decided it's better just to keep them than, just give it up for some prospects who may never make the majors.
Right. Moving on, Astros going, and I hate to say it, but I think they had a pretty good trade deadline. I gave them a B plus. They got better offensively at catcher, something they needed because while Maldonado's a good defensive catcher, I know Verlander, a lot of the guys on the staff, they're like him. Offensively, he's definitely, I can't think of the word for him, but he's definitely something.
Yeah,
he leaves something to be desired. They got a fantastic first baseman. Obviously, to help out with Yuli, who's been struggling at the plate. Obviously, that's Trey Mancini. We spoke about him earlier. Also helps out with the team image. I've never seen better PR moves. Astros have had great PR moves, I gotta say. They bring in Dusty Baker and Trey Mancini, and now it's starting to get difficult,
Yeah.
And they got a nice reliever. They, the opposite of that Jake Odorizzi trade, they brought in Will Smith. There's nothing to sneer at. It's just I think that was one of those trades 1-for-1 where it just made sense for both teams. Astros were never going to use Odorizzi in the postseason. They have more than enough, quality arms that Odorizzi would have never been a starter for them. Whereas the Braves had enough bullpen pieces, especially after adding Iglesias, that Odorizzi was more of a need for them than Will Smith. So they kind of addressed all their needs and they did it pretty well, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think I would probably give them an A, honestly. Much like to say,
I couldn't do it, but I hear you.
Yeah, their team is solid through and through. I don't know how they've been able to sustain this run since 2016 at this point.
Yeah.
Well, they've brought in reinforcements like Michael Brantley among other guys, and they're a well-run machine. And Trey Mancini is gonna help a lot. Will Smith will help as well. Yeah, the trades just made sense for them, and they really didn't give up a whole lot. It's nothing that's going to set the organization back really at all. And they'll be right back here next year as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think the answer to the question is how they've been able to sustain it is, you know, the best teams in baseball the last, 5 years, I guess you could say. It's you look at how they're sustaining it, it's not trades, it's not free agency, it's not money, it's development. It's
Yeah.
their own system. I mean, the Dodgers have sustained this for 10 years because they had the rookie of the year for 7 years running. And they're still bringing up. I mean, Miguel Vargas and James Outman are both hitting 950 in their respective careers, just brought up a couple days ago. You know what I mean? The Atlanta Braves have brought up, Acuna and Albies, and Michael Harris is going crazy this year. Every year they're bringing up a new all-star.
Austin Riley.
Austin Riley just signed a huge extension. Yeah, and the Astros are the same. I mean, they had Jose and George and Carlos. But, I mean, the new wave of Jordan and Kyle Tucker, those are perennial MVP candidates that just came up a couple years ago.
Yeah.
So it's really just their development and all this pitching. I mean, their pitching now is not at all the same as it was in those 16, 17. They got these what's his name? Luis forgetting his last name. Luis something. Can't remember. Luis, you guys know who I'm talking about. We'll come to you later. Christian Javier. I mean, they got like just these arms that come up. And Framber Valdez, who's damn near an ace at this point. It's just development. Unfortunately, they're a good organization internally. I hate it.
I do too.
Moving on, the Kansas City Royals. I gave them a B, Sean. They made the trades they had to, and they actually got pretty decent returns. And they made open spots for the rookies like Prado and Pasquantino, maybe even Michael Massey to come up. There wasn't a lot for them to do necessarily. It's kind of tough when you're not making a playoff run. But listen, they traded Benintendi. They got TJ Sycamore, prospect highlight. That's got to do something for you. They traded Carlos Santana. They got some prospects for that. They had 3 or 4 or 5 trades even. I can't even remember all of them because there's a lot of names in there. They did what they could. They traded Whit Merrifield too, didn't they?
They did.
Yeah, they traded Whit. Oh, that was the big one. I mean, they traded Whit Merrifield. That's right. The Blue Jays for Groshans, which is one of the better hauls of the deadline, 1-for-1. I mean, Groshans for Merrifield is. Groshans a pretty good prospect for getting Whit Merrifield. I think the Blue Jays kind of got fleeced a little bit on that one. Decent deadline for the Royals.
Yeah, I agree. Tough for me to see Whit Merrifield get traded. I don't know. I just kind of liked him on the Wills. I'm sure that was a tough trade for him and the organization. He's been there for a while, having a bit of a down year. The trade really didn't make tons of sense for the Blue Jays, but we'll get into that a little bit later. Well, like I said, with like the Reds, they did what they needed to do. They didn't necessarily have the top of the line players like the Reds did and Luis Castillo, but they did what they needed to do. They got rid of Benintendi, got a nice return for that. They've been bad enough for a while now that they've kind of run out of top name players that teams wanted the deadline, to put it bluntly. But they got better organizationally, maybe not necessarily major league level, but yeah.
I will backtrack though, because Merrifield, they got Samad Taylor and Max Castillo, those prospects for Merrifield. The Blue Jays traded Groshans in the deal in Miami where they got Zach Pop and Anthony Bass. So I apologize for that. We'll talk about that later. I think that's even more of a fleet going forward for that. But the Los Angeles Angels, Sean, we made it, man. It's an F. They traded Brandon Marsh, a man who they ruined the development of by bringing him up too early and then too late. And someone who they might need during the stretch just as a body because Mike Trout is hurt and he actually plays outfield for them. But they did, however, Sean, they got 39-year-old Jesse Chavez for Raisel Iglesias, and it's got to be the move of the century. It has to be because I think Jesse, what he does is he put those goggles on, Sean, and I think he comes in at 39. I can't even Like, who's approving these deals? And our team's just calling, like, saying weird shit, seeing what they'll say yes to. Because, like, I mean, they got Tucker Davidson in the deal as well, a young arm who actually pitched in the Braves World Series run. He pitched some important innings in the World Series. But he's already, like, you already know what Tucker Davidson is, and he's not, like, maybe he's a reliever, but he's not a viable starter anymore. Like, like, everyone knows what he is as a prospect. Like, it's over for Tucker Davidson. He might get a middle relief role long term, and that's fine. You know, that's a major league player. But I mean, you traded Raisel Iglesias. What are you doing? Quite possibly the best reliever trade at the deadline. And we'll talk about Josh Hader, but Iglesias is filthy. How is that what you get? Then, Sean, they you know, they don't do it once. They just keep it going. They went on to trade guys that me and you, Sean, I think were high on in 2012 in Touki Toussaint. They just traded for Touki Toussaint. I think just straight up for cash considerations. They were eyeing him. I think they've been eyeing him since 2011, when he almost broke out. And then they trade for Mickey Moniak because they think that they're the team that's going to help his development. First overall pick in 2016 from Philadelphia, who's done nothing with his career. I'm very sorry, Mickey, that you're getting caught in the crosshairs of this. But I mean, this is just, I mean, it's got to be, they got Mickey Moniak for Noah Syndergaard. Another prospect with no future. Mickey, I'm sorry to your family, but
Friend of the pod.
Mickey's 25 years old, was a first rounder 2016. What are we doing? Like, everyone knows he's a bust. He's a failed prospect. You could get really good prospects for Noah Syndergaard at the deadline. What are you doing? Mickey Moniak was getting DFA'd tomorrow if they didn't get him off the books. And you took him for Noah Syndergaard. Mickey Moniak and Jesse Chavez. That's there. And Touki Toussaint. They did get Touki Toussaint. That's what's going to save the Los Angeles Angels. F-. I wish they were the Guardians. I wish they did nothing. Because honestly, it would be better.
They never cease to amaze.
No.
They never cease to amaze in everything they do. Why do they sign Raisel Iglesias to a 4-year deal and then proceed to trade him half a season into that 4-year deal, and then get nothing for him? And then Syndergaard, you covered it very, very well. I don't have much to add. Like, what are they doing? Like, if I were a player, manager, anybody, I would, in free agency, I'd stay so far away from that organization. Like, if they had sent if it was like the winter meetings and they sent representatives to me, I think I'd go run and hide. Like, they just bring such a bad, like, everything to the table. I mean, they could have every position filled with Babe Ruth, like, and they still would finish like 10 games under 500. It's just astonishing.
Now, if the Yankees were interested in me, I'd be really upset because I would think, like, what does this mean about me as a player? Why do they want me? Like, what's wrong with me right now?
Yeah. I mean, they ruined the reputation of a very highly respected manager in Joe Madden.
Yeah.
I mean, like, the guy is probably a Hall of Famer. And he gets kicked to the curb in, like, what, a year and a half, 2 years maybe?
There's nothing to be said. I said a lot, and I'm sorry.
Their ex-GM is currently the Mets GM. So just think about that one.
Well, you had similar deadlines. Moving on to the LA, again, I think it was in the air a little bit. Dodgers don't make decisions like that, but they did have a D, in my opinion. They had a D deadline. They could have gotten Soto. I'm just going to come out and say it. Given the prospect haul that the Padres gave up, I think the Dodgers could have matched it. I wasn't sure if they'd be able to because Padres have a good system. But the Dodgers could have flipped Vargas, maybe Cartaya, Bobby Miller, something like that. And would have been a comparable or even better package for Soto that wouldn't have damaged them. And everyone thinks the Dodgers is high and mighty, but I had them getting Kike because, I mean, Muncy's struggling. Muncy's hitting 150. You know what I mean? Bellinger's been struggling for 2 years. The only guys that are doing well in the Dodgers are the not Dodgers, meaning Mookie, Trey, and Freddie. Players that aren't real Dodgers, if you know what I'm saying. So,
Yeah.
Seager's gone. The core of the Dodgers is gone. We're this new wave team, and not everyone is performing to their names. So I think we needed some offensive depth for a playoff run. And Sean, instead of getting Soto or PK, they decided. What do you say?
The next best players they got.
Joey, you're a good person. I've seen interviews with you. You're a nice guy. But it is my humble belief, and has been for quite some time, that you are the worst player in Major League Baseball. I truly believe that there is not a worse player. I mean, I know people say he's got really great skills. He's got great power. He's a good glove. He's a good base runner. I don't care. I think he's the worst player in Major League Baseball. I disagree with people who say those things. It's hard to have power when you don't make contact. It's hard to have speed when you're not on the bases. And, it's hard to play good defense when you're not in the field because you can't get in the game. If there's anyone who can turn around Joey Gallo's career, it's the Los Angeles Dodgers. As I'm watching, obviously, Clayton pitch today, in his first at-bat, he watches a changeup literally float down the middle for strike 3. I'm talking dick the middle, like dick. And he was shocked it was called a strike. And then in his second at-bat, he hit a ball the other way for a base hit against the shift, something he hadn't done all year. And I stood up and I clapped, and I'm like, you know what? Because I'm sure the Yankees told him to. But if somehow it clicked with the Dodgers, I wish Joey Gallo the best of. I hope he goes on a tear. I do. I was thinking about it earlier. I'm like, I hate Joey Gallo. Then I thought to myself, I don't hate him. He's struggling. He's a human being. You know what I mean? I wish the best for him. I hope he does really well. I hope the Dodgers can fix his issues. I think it's mental. Just from watching him today in his face, you can tell he's pressing. He is pressing hard.
Yeah.
And I know what that's like, and I'm sorry for him. So, no, I don't think it was great that they got Joey Gallo. Hopefully it works out for both sides.
Yeah. Joey Gallo. The fact they gave up any player for him, it was a shocker. I thought it was going to be like cash considerations.
Yeah.
But how do you think that guy feels that he was traded for Joey Gallo? Do you think he feels really good, or do you think he feels really bad about himself?
No, I don't think he feels good at all. I think he feels that I was the most dispensable player in this organization. He was literally the worst player here in the whole org, which is tough. That's a tough call. Yeah, that's going to be attached to you forever. I was traded for Joey Gallo. The Dodgers could have done some more things to get better, and they didn't. Moving on, the Miami Marlins, Sean, I gave them a B+. As I spoke earlier, they got Jordan Groshans for just a couple of relievers. I said Merrifield, but I misspoke. Forget Anthony Bass and Zach Pop to get a top 5 prospect in a Blue Jays organization who actually has a decent farm system still and develops players and scouts players pretty well. And Jordan Groshans is a good player. He's top 100 prospect. So that's a pretty filthy return for Miami. Excuse the burp. And a lot of people are saying they didn't have a great deadline because they didn't deal Lopez. I'm going to take the opposite opinion to that. I like them keeping Lopez. He has 2.5 years of control. He's like the same as Soto. And I think they can get more for him at a later date. I think they can still flip him next year or the year after. And with Sandy there and some of the other pieces they have and the NL East being what it is, I don't know. I mean, they competed in 2020. I know it's a Mickey Mouse year, but they got some prospects coming up too. You know what I mean? I don't think they should trade a really good young controllable pitcher right now. I think the organization's in a better spot than that. With 2.5 years left. I don't know. That's my opinion. What do you think about the Marlins deadline?
I like the deadline. I like the return they got from the Blue Jays, like you said. I also agree with you about Pablo Lopez. I am a firm believer that these guys should not be getting traded with 2.5 years of control left if they're contributing to their
That's
team,
too much.
especially one like
Yeah.
the Marlins. We'll get into Hader later with the Brewers because I have very strong opinions on that. But Pablo Lopez is one of the better pitchers in the National League this year. The Marlins are not far away at all. Just get a couple hitters. They could, if they wanted to, they could sign some decent players in free agency and legitimately be a solid wild card team. You know, not even 3, maybe 2, or the 1 seed in the wild card. I like they didn't get rid of him. Like you said, his value could go up as time goes on. There did seem to be a lot of pitchers in this free agent class, or excuse me, not free agent, like got as much as they wanted to, although Luis Castillo, as you said, did get dealt for quite a return. So I don't know if that necessarily holds true. But yeah, I like them holding on to him for now. And I think the Marlins are really not far away from contending.
Yeah.
Like legitimately contending. They are close, a couple bats away, and they're good.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm in the same boat as you. I think people are a little bit lower on the Marlins than us from what I saw out there. But speaking of the Brew Crew, MIA is right before MIL. So here we are in the alphabetical order. I gave them a B, but I'm not going to speak. You got a lot to say. I want you to get out what you got to say first. How'd you feel about the Brewers deadline?
Well, I hated the Josh Hader trade, and I know there had been talk about this for a long, long time. Never understood it. The Brewers are a team that is leading their division.
Correct.
And we are in August, leading the division in August, right? Josh Hader is one of the best, if not the best, relief pitcher closer in the game. Guy's electric. He's done it year in and year out. He's the model of consistency for the most part when it comes to that position, which is a very volatile position. You know, 1 year you're good, 1 year you're terrible. Look at Edwin Diaz on the Mets. I'm not really 2 years of control after this year, I believe. I don't want to get that wrong.
I'm not sure. I thought he might have been a free agent, but maybe he wasn't. I'll check it out.
Okay. Well, if he is a free agent, then maybe I don't feel quite as strongly about this, but still, you're a first place team in your division. You're trying to win your division. And you trade away probably am I going on a limb saying their best player on the team? I mean, one of the best.
Other than Corbin Burns, yeah, he had 1 more year of arbitration and could become a free agent in 2023. So you're more in line with the truth than me.
Yes. So I just don't understand that. What does that tell your fan base, your paying customers, your season ticket holders? Hey guys, we want to win, but we're going to trade away our premier player. I mean, they got a solid return. I mean, it wasn't a bad return, but you trade him in league, National League team who you could be facing in the postseason. You didn't even deal him add into the different league, American League. You dealt him in league and a team that you could play in the wild card if they drop down to the wild card spot. So you're hurting yourself by getting rid of one of your better players. This move is not a competitive move. Like you're telling your fans, your paying customers, season ticket holders that, hey, we want to win, but we're going to get rid of one of our best players. That's just counterintuitive, and I don't understand it. It's not good for the game of baseball that a smaller market team is doing these moves when they are in contention to win a division and a pennant. I just don't understand it. And I just don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. I know they got a lot of prospects back and good return, but it just doesn't make sense to me.
Sean, it's hard for me to say I disagree, but your take has been the general take and the most understandable take. And because I'm me, I took the devil's advocate here just because I wanted to and I had to. I gave them a B. They knew they couldn't re-sign Hader. So they have arbitration coming up, but I think he was like set to make 17 million or something, and they knew it was going to be very difficult for them to construct a roster next year around that, and they're not going to sign him long term So this might be where his value's the peak. And if you know you're not going to re-sign him, I think it's an okay trade to make. I understand that the optics are terrible, but value wise, I mean, they got back a closer. They got back Taylor Rogers, who's not as good as Hader. Hader's also been struggling the last month, but that, relievers can struggle for a month and then come back. It doesn't mean much. But like you said, it's a very volatile position. So to get anything from something that's very volatile, and he has a lot of innings on his arm. He's pitched a lot of important games for the Brewers. I don't know. I guess I'm just trying to figure out reasons why it's okay. I like Estuary Ruiz as well, one of the prospects they got back. He's already played in the majors a little bit with the Padres. He's got a lot of speed that could be used in the playoffs. Another speed and defense type of guy that we've talked about that could become useful for the Brewers. And again, I don't know. They got two arms back too. They got Taylor Rogers, and who else did they get? They got a second arm as well. I mean, it deepened the bullpen a little bit. And at the end of the day, Sean, Devin Williams, I think he was ready for the closer role. I mean, unless they keep Taylor Rogers there, which is fine. But I mean, Devin Williams is one of the best relievers in all of baseball. They got Denilson LeMay was the other one, which kind of ruins my argument because let me tell you, they DFA'd him just days after the trade, which made no sense to me because Denilson LeMay was in the 2020 Cy Young candidate. I know that's a shortened year, but he's been pretty good in the top prospect as well. So I'm surprised the Brewers, with all their pitching knowledge, didn't try and develop him or bring him back to life a little bit after the injury. I don't know. I'm cutting the Brewers a little bit of slack here because I know they're working on a tight budget. They got deeper, got some prospects, and got the most value they could for a position that's volatile. But at the end of the day, it does not send a good message to the fan base. I'll give you that for sure. It sends a message of I'm more interested than money in winning, which is something that obviously here at the 10th Inning Podcast, we are not a fan of that message.
Cleveland Guardians, they're spreading it amongst the league here.
They are spreading. Someone who didn't say that though, Sean. A team that signed Carlos Correa in the offseason, people were scratching their heads. What are you doing? You're not a good team. The Minnesota Twins, they are a good team.
Twinkies.
They're leading the AL Central, having an A-, okay, in my opinion, deadline. Half of this grade is honestly just because the rest of the AL Central did nothing. So just the fact that they did something is fantastic. No, I don't really think they put themselves in contention to win a World Series. So I'm not sure what the goal is. But they certainly guaranteed a playoff spot. Like I think the Twins are definitely going to be in the playoffs now. The whole AL Central got worse, basically, and they got tremendously better. I love them picking up Jorge Lopez from the Orioles and Michael Fulmer, two really good bullpen arms to shore up the bullpen. And as we spoke at length, I'm a huge fan of Tyler Mahle. I think he's crazy underrated. I think that's a great arm to bring into Minnesota. And especially when he's out of Cincinnati, I think his career ERA on the road is like 2.7 something, 2.8. So I think he's really going to flourish there out of Cincinnati and in Minnesota. I think that's a really underrated move.
Yeah, no, they definitely did enough to get better. And I think the rest of the division being basically inactive made their moves look even better. They addressed their bullpen, which was a bit of an issue. Got an all-star closer. They did enough to really solidify the bullpen, which in the come postseason, the bullpen is what you see the most of nowadays. Pitchers going shorter length in the postseason. I think they did enough, like you said. I think they're going to win the division. That's not saying tons though, considering the rest of the division. The Cleveland Guardians, as we mentioned, are in there. But I think they had a nice deadline.
We're here, Sean. We made it to New York, LMN. I'm going to let you talk first about both New York teams because I keep forgetting to let you talk first about teams, and I'm being a little bit of an asshole here. So
No, it's fine.
I will say I gave the Yankees an A, Sean. That's the only hint I'm going to give you, which is pretty shocking that I did that. But how did you feel about the New York Yankees?
I think the Yankees did a very good job. Benintendi, like you said, real baseball player. The Yankees need more of those guys. I believe we talked about that at length
Yeah.
last episode. But getting Montas was big get for the rotation. They needed another guy who was, mid rotation guy. Not a front line, but not a back end guy who's going to give you innings. Is having a solid year this year. I think that was a no brainer. They got rid of Joey Gallo, and they got a player back as we discussed.
Yeah.
I mean that is a addition subtraction, basically. No offense to him, but a little bit of a head scratcher for me was the Montgomery trade.
Yeah.
For it was Bader, right?
Yep.
Yeah. He is injured, I believe, right? He might not play for the rest of the season.
He's injured, but he should be back in September or definitely for the playoffs.
Yeah. And what's his contract? Is he a free agent at year's end, or?
I think he's in arbitration. I think he's still got some years of control, as does Monty. I think they're in a very similar point in their career.
Okay. Well, that's the reason. One of the reasons I like Montas trade is because of the years of control. So Bader, maybe it's not as bad, but Montgomery, I feel like, I don't know, trading away pitching is a bit tough right now. But overall, I don't think it's that much of a head scratcher to really knock it down. Their deadline down. I think would give them a B to a B plus.
Yeah,
I'll give them a B plus. I'm feeling generous. I liked what they did, though. I think they addressed their issues. They didn't make any stupid Yankee trades like trading for Joey Gallo like they did last year. They kind of kept it within their needs and did a good job.
No, I think the reason I went A, Sean, is because this is the first deadline the Yankees traded for their needs. It wasn't the big 6'5", 250-pound outfielder anymore. It wasn't.
Yeah.
We didn't get a 16th right fielder, and it was refreshing. It really was. We needed, a guy who could get on base, hit for a high average, and play good defense. As an outfielder, we got Benintendi. We needed an extra starter who could come in and be a 2 or a 3. If Sevi comes back, we went out and we got Frankie Montas. We needed some more athleticism, and this is what I'm going to chalk it up to. Again, said this 4 or 5 times, and you see a lot of these playoff contending teams doing this. The Terrence score 2.0, I might say, not just the pinch runner, which famously Terrence Gore basically went to every single almost World Series team, like just moving on. But also that good defender. Harrison Bader, possibly the best defender in center field in baseball when he's in there. And elite speed. So as a defensive replacement late in a game or something, I think it's a fantastic get. Is a head scratcher. A lot of people in New York were kind of weirded out. Monty's a lefty. We didn't have a lot of that. Been really solid for us in eating up innings. Didn't have an innings limit. If we have an injury, that's going to be some people going to point to that we shouldn't have done. But we are making moves to win in the postseason. And I don't think Montgomery would have made any appearances in the postseason other than long relief role if everything goes to plan, which is life. Life never goes to plan. So, hopefully it's Cole, Severino, Montas, Nasty Nestor. We didn't really need Montgomery. In a season, we do. But we're so far ahead right now, I think we're just looking for postseason. And that's why Bader was a bigger get for us in keeping Montas. And then, of course, we get two relievers. We get Trevino, who's been on the player to watch list a couple times for us, right? And we got Efros from the Cubbies. I just think they addressed their needs, which is so rare for the Yankees and just so rare in baseball, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Someone who will also address their needs in flying colors, the New York Mets. I actually am going to talk first, Sean. I'm going to keep it quick, though. I gave him an A+, the only A+ in the entire list. And the A+ is for staying on brand. It might not even be that short. I've been getting scared this last year and a half, 2 years, Sean, because the Mets started to make decisions that made sense. They started bringing in good players. They started making good trades. They're a World Series contending team this year. And I was like, what's going on right now? They're doing well. They're making good decisions. Stevie Cohen's coming with money bags. And thank God, just as all of New York is starting to put their faith back in, they dropped Darren Ruff and Dan Vogel back on you, and seemingly weren't interested in any conversations whatsoever for big gets like Soto or any pitchers, which is kind of shocking. They had good years from Taiwan. I like Bassett, you know. DeGrom is back. Cookie's out there. He hasn't had cancer in some amount of years now. I'm forgetting a pitcher. Who's their ace? Other than DeGrom.
DeGrom.
Scherzer. Thank you. Well, I don't want to bring him. He's I don't know. Sean, I mean, listen, maybe they were just set. Maybe they didn't need anything and they brought in a platoon of a lefty and righty guy that can mash. Maybe I'm wrong. I have them realistically at a D plus because I don't think they got worse. They got a little bit better, but in the way that I gave the Twins an A minus, but said, "What's the goal?" Like you're in the playoffs, but you're not winning a World Series. The Mets were winning a World Series, and they didn't make the push to increase those odds. That's exactly why I gave the Dodgers a D. There's different expectations for those top 5 teams. The Mets had thrusted themselves into a top 5 competitor. And we saw the Braves, the Yankees, and the Astros do things to make them World Series competitors now. And the Dodgers and the Mets, God bless us, right? Really not do anything to increase the World Series odds, in my opinion.
No, I agree. I think the Mets are a little gun shy after what happened last year with Javi Baez and giving up a top prospect for him and it not working out. The Mets are pretty steadfast on not giving up top 5 prospects, which I like. I didn't want them to do that, which I was in the minority there of Mets fans. I didn't want them to give up any like Alvarez or Beatty or any of the guys like that, Alex Ramirez. But I think they could have gotten guys like Trey Mancini or JD Martinez without giving up a top 5 prospect.
Yeah.
Which would have moved the needle more at the DH position than Vogelbach the guy is on fire, but or Darren Ruff. Now, I'm fine with acquiring Darren Ruff. The return, as I said earlier, is just way, way too much. The Giants must have been like giddy with that return. But that's beside the point at this moment. I already spoke about it. But I didn't think the Mets. I think I was in the minority there. I didn't think the Mets had to do that much. If they got Contreras, that would have been great. But they would have had to give up, players I didn't want to give up. I wish they had went more for a reliever, Michael Givens, so they gave up 5 runs or 4 runs in the 9th last night. His first appearance as a Met, not a great start. I would have loved to get David Robertson. It seemed as though the Mets were in on every one of those guys, but they just didn't want to pull the trigger. Like I said, I think Trey Mancini would have been a perfect fit for the Mets. He would have been good in the clubhouse. Not saying the other guys aren't, but I just think that you never know how good you're going to be next year. The Mets logically should be good next year, but you never know. They could be 10 games under 500. I mean, this is the best point the Mets have been in this season since the last time they won the World Series in 1986. So I understand the sentiment that you got to go for it. I am not as upset with the deadline as some people. I am upset about, however, the trade for Darren Ruff. I think that they could have, if they did JD for Darren Ruff straight up, I would have been okay with it. I just don't understand what they had to give up for Vogelbach and Darren Ruff. I don't think that they equal each other, the trade packages, but I think the Mets team is good enough to win as it currently stands, but I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I do think they're good enough to win. They don't have any glaring holes other than catcher. I think they should have at least went out and got Christian Vasquez. It's not really about addressing a hole, is why and I'm being hard on them, but it's kind of like what the Dodgers have done the last couple of years. Did they have a hole in starting pitching and at shortstop? No, but they just got Scherzer and Turner. And did they win the World Series? No, but that's the kind of move that you make when you're like, okay, I'm winning the World Series now. And I just think for a city like New York, and it seemed like the Mets, I don't know. I just felt like this was the year because like it's been like 2015. They had like just finally got something going, and then we went back to the dark ages a little bit. We've been talking about this even in the off season. New York is hot with Mets right now. Like the Mets, even the Yankees doing well. Like the Mets are like trying to take the city, and Steve Cohen comes in, and it's like we're doing everything now, we're signing everyone now. I think I'm just more so surprised he didn't fire the bullet on something that I would have said today, probably like, why did you do that? That was so overkill. I think I'm upset that I'm not saying that was so overkill.
Yeah.
That's Steve Cohen. I would have been upset either way, but I guess that's just what I'm trying to say. Moving on to the Oakland Athletics, Sean. I gave them a B. They did what they could. They got what they could. They had almost nothing to give, unfortunately. But they, they gave what they had. They gave who did they give? Now that I'm trying to figure it out,
Montas.
they gave Montas. Is what they had. Montas and Trevino. They got Waldichuk, who's a good left-hand pitcher from the Yankees, another lefty, and J.P. Sears, and some other prospects as well. And they traded Christian Bethancourt for some guy named Cal. I don't ever think anyone named Cal is going to succeed. So that's, Oakland. They traded Montas, which they had to do, right? And that's about it.
They are. I mean, they're going to be in Las Vegas before you know it. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Also, I didn't realize you got a new picture of Soto. It looks fantastic, by the way.
Thank you. You saying something? I think you're saying great job. All right. Oh, and you're back. Not even enough.
No.
We have the Philadelphia Phillies, folks. On another NL East team, and another A- for me. And another shocking A-. Phillies are another team that you expect the worst for the Philadelphia Phillies in decision making.
Yeah.
They had a Yankees type of deadline where they just got what they needed. They brought in defense. They got Brandon Marsh, as I said, for pennies, because they traded with the Angels, who can play all three outfield positions and play them really, really well. They brought in Edmundo Sosa, who plays shortstop really, really well, something they've had some issues with. Could play second as well. Move Tommy Edman, wherever you want to do. Sosa could probably play third. You have you could probably play third with where Bohm is. I was thinking the Cardinals for a second, excuse me. Timeout here. I was thinking the Cardinals. That's what I was thinking. Folks, I apologize. Tell me I've been on the Phillies. Who's on the
I was going to say.
Gee, I didn't realize how long I had been on the Cardinals train. And I kept going in the back of my mind. Like, how long have we been on the Cardinals here? They brought in Harrison Bader. Just kidding, he's on the Cardinals. Sean, I'm having a mental breakdown here. I'm questioning whether I'm going to keep this in the podcast or show this to my doctor, because this is getting scary.
Oh.
Okay. Everyone ready for the Phillies deadline? Because I'm going to talk about it starting now. They had a really good one, A-. They did everything they needed. They brought in defensive help because they brought in Brandon Marsh from the Angels. He went to the Phillies. He plays all three positions very well. Speed and defense, something we talked about relentlessly on this podcast. They brought in Edmundo Sosa from the Cardinals. They brought him from the Cardinals. Okay? The Phillies have obviously had a lot of defensive issues up the middle. That very easily fixes that. They just DFA'd Didi Gregorius today, which I think is fucking crazy. The Yankees need to pick up Didi Gregorius right now. Friend of the pod, like the biggest friend of the pod, Didi Gregorius.
Yeah.
And he's athletic. They brought in two athletic players. And then they bring in a good starting pitcher in Noah Syndergaard. They shore up the staff. Now he can slide into the 3 spot if they want. That's a pretty filthy staff going into, if they make a wild card, you get Wheeler, Nola, and Syndergaard. That's pretty formidable. That'll go up against pretty much anyone in the NL there. And they bring in what I think was the best reliever on the market, David Robertson. We saw him get a save yesterday. They did everything. They fixed the defense. They got a starter and they got a reliever. And I thought they were Cardinals the whole time doing it. I think that's an A-. Sean, let me know what I got wrong.
Well, if you think someone's like the Cardinals, that's pretty good because the Cardinals are typically good with what they do.
Yeah.
I think the Phillies had a really good deadline. It was interesting 4 weeks ago or so that we were talking about the Phillies being sellers, and now they're
Yeah.
buyers. It's crazy how crazy things can change. Syndergaard addresses some of the starting pitching depth. He's not going to be a game changer, but he's going to be solid.
Yeah.
I can't wait for the Mets to face him, and I pray to God they destroy him. But that's just me. But yeah, no, they got better. The defense is what they needed, so they addressed that with Marsh. They traded with the Angels, so they didn't give up much.
Yeah.
They didn't have a deep farm system to begin with. They did trade, I think, their top prospect. I can't remember what trade it was in.
They traded
Catching prospect, I believe.
Yeah, Logan O'Hop, St. John the Baptist, Long Island representative. Shout out Long Island.
Oh, he went to St. John the Baptist.
Yeah, he knows Leif. Leif knew him when he was at St. John's. Peripherally, not they weren't buddies.
Oh, okay. I was gonna start asking Leif for some tickets once he
love
makes
each
the
other.
majors. Friend of the pod, dare we say?
Yeah, I'm not a huge St. John's guy, St. Anthony's guy myself.
We should get in contact with him. Maybe get him on the show.
Guys, maybe we'll have Logan O'Hop on the show. Okay.
Absolutely. I'm going off on a tangent here. Anyway, I like what they did. Them and the Braves got better. The Mets really didn't. So I'm a little nervous about that. They had to get better, the Phillies, because the wild card race is a highly contested race. You got the Cardinals, who are kind of on the inside looking, or the outside looking in. And the Brewers, whoever takes the lead in that division, the other guy is going to be in the wild card just based off of their records at the current point. But they did what they had to do, and they have a pretty good looking team. Also, Nick Castellanos had a first home run today since the month of June.
Well, let's go, Dave. Just close that out. You got it. Let's go.
Yeah,
Dave.
no, that was a good move for them. Really, really, really good move for them. Here we go, Dave.
David Robertson can quell any bullpen.
Oh yeah.
The Pittsburgh Pirates, Sean. I got this right. They traded Quintana to the Cardinals. Look at me. I got something right after all the moves I predicted. C plus. They traded Quintana to the Cardinals. What else?
Yeah, I'm pretty much on board with that.
That was good. I'm glad they did it. They should have. They had no use for him. It was a good sign.
Really didn't. Yeah, they really didn't have many players to get rid of at this stage in the game.
I guess they traded Vogelbach to the Mets too, right?
Yeah, that is true.
Pittsburgh. Sorry if anyone from Pittsburgh or the fans of Pittsburgh watching this, but it's just not a lot to discuss. San Diego Padres is up next, Sean. You want to take this first? I don't care.
Yeah, F. Terrible deadline. No, they, in my opinion, fleeced the Nationals. They acquired Soto and Josh Bell. Mind you, Josh Bell is currently, last time I checked, hitting well over 300 and is having one of his most productive seasons since his near MVP season in 2018 or 19. I can't remember exactly what year it was. I think 19. And they did not have to take on the Patrick Corbin contract. They gave up a lot of prospects, which was what was expected. But I don't think it was anything that was an exorbitant amount compared to the players they're getting in return. Juan Soto for 2.5 years, assuming they keep him that long or don't extend him, which is likely they will. They got Josh Bell for first base and DH. As I said, extremely solid player. They also got Brandon Drury, another under-the-radar player, had a grand slam in his first at-bat or first game in San Diego. Eric Hosmer, they traded him to the Red Sox after everybody thought he was going to hold up the trade. Also, poor Luke Voigt. Him and Eric Hosmer have got to hate each other right now, or he's got to hate Eric Hosmer. Goes from playing in San Diego to now playing in Washington, D.C. for a playoff team to a cellar dweller. But really, the Padres could not have had a better trade deadline. It's paying off for them, basically. Them being bad for so long has built up the prospect pool where they still have some good prospects down there, believe it or not. And the Nationals, we'll get to them later. I mean, I think they got fleeced. I really do. They got a lot of prospects, but how many of those prospects are going to pan out? And Juan Soto is a proven commodity at the age of 23, and the NL West is going to be hotly contested, even more so than it already is now. Oh,
Yeah.
and Josh
Josh
Hader, yeah.
There's
Can't forget
throw
that.
in. I gave, I'm taking the contradictory, of course. I gave the Padres a B. Everyone's saying they have the best deadline. I don't know. They made a fantastic move to win now. They made the best move possible to win now. They made the move. They got Soto. Not only did they get Soto, they got Soto and Josh Bell, which is something I'll talk a little bit about when we talk about the Nationals, like you said. I mean, I think I'll talk about that later. I think the issue is why I'm not giving them an A is self-awareness. I don't know if the self-awareness was there. The last two, they've done this for 3 or 4 seasons in a row. It's failed for a long time. And I'm not saying it's the same. It's the same as Justin Upton and whoever the fuck they did, with Will Myers and all that Ira Cosma jazz. They've the players now are objectively better. But they signed 7 different starting pitchers at last deadline and in the offseason that are all-star caliber. It didn't work. Listen, when they got Soto and Bell and they gave up basically their home farm, but they have no chance of winning their division. Like, they did it while in a position where they're not winning their division. Like, regardless of how much better they are, they're going to a wild card series. And they have good pitching, but I don't know, Nola, Wheeler, Syndergaard. Let's say the Mets end up losing the division. DeGrom, Scherzer, whoever you want to throw at their 3. Let's say the Braves are going. Fried, Morton, whoever they're going to throw at 3. I don't know. I mean, in a best of 3 series, all of the teams in the wild card, Brewers, if they somehow make the wild card, Corbin Burns, Brandon Woodruff, every team in the NL has a 3-horse dominant thing. And in 3 games, I don't know if Soto and Bell's offense is going to kill, the pitching that's going to come their way. And again, they have decent pitching, but in a 3-game series, I don't think they're so much better. And they're not the best team in the NL still. Even with getting Soto and Bell, they're not the best team in the NL. No one's going to tell me they're better than the Dodgers still. So if they don't win the World Series, that's just what I don't know if this was the best move for them to make now, because they just gave up everything and still aren't in the best position. If they were in the position to win the division, I'd feel differently, because they'd have a bye-ish, whatever you're going to consider it now. It's weird with this new format. They're a wild card team. It's just a lot for me. That's all I got to say. I don't even clearly think we won the Hader deal because it's so volatile. Let's just say he starts doing poorly. Just taking devil's advocate, Sean. I don't know. They're a wild card team, and I think it's a lot to give up when you're in that position. If this doesn't work, I think AJ Preller is going to be in a shitload of doo-doo.
Yeah.
The Dodgers aren't really going to be worse next year either. I just think they're picking a weird time.
Fair enough.
That's my take. I'm sorry. San Francisco Giants. F+. They could have gotten absolute haul for Rodon. I think he would have been. I think he's better than Castillo, the best pitcher on the market, and a lefty as well. In a season where they have no chance, they didn't improve, and they didn't get any notable prospects either. So they didn't move the needle in either direction, and I think that's a huge failure on any team's part, and certainly for a good organization like the Giants.
Yeah, they're one of those teams that every year seems to be a little stubborn when they're not necessarily the best. They have faith in the team, but they really kind of blindly go into it, or are blind to the fact that they're not. I mean, their postseason aspirations are basically shot right now. They've come out of the All-Star break just stumbling. They should have traded Jock Peterson, Rodon. They traded Darren Ruff and some other marginal guys, but nothing that's really going to move the needle, as you said. Well, they did get 3 prospects from the Mets, so they're gonna have a Cy Young before you know. Just calling it now. But I think that their self awareness is very, very low in this situation. And like you said, they could have got a lot for Rodon, and they probably could have got a lot for Jock Peterson. I mean, you saw
Yeah.
last year was a huge catalyst in the Braves postseason run, and when he gets hot, it is hard to get him out.
Yeah.
So I think they really missed the boat on this deadline. I was hoping the Mets were going to go after him, Peterson. That is.
Jock Peterson playing in New York would be phenomenal. He seems like a Mets player with the pearls and everything. I think the fan base should get behind it.
Yeah.
The Seattle Mariners, Sean. I'm not even gonna give my grade. Tell me what you think.
I think they are better. I do. They gave up a lot for Castillo. But the Mariners are not normally in this position, so they have the assets to give up. They are in a win now mode. They have young players. And we know with the Mariners, they won't be able to keep these players forever. So when you have a chance like this, you got to strike. I think they did what they needed to do in acquiring a starting pitcher. They're obviously still not going to win their division, so they're in a bit of a similar situation to the Padres, I guess you could say. But Castillo has more than just this year under control. And frankly, if things go bad, they could turn around and trade him next year. I highly doubt that'll happen, and that's not what they want to have happen because they expect to be good. But it is nice to see the Mariners making a win now trade for a pitcher.
Yeah, I gave him a B plus, and I think it's time for playoff baseball in Seattle. I think they know that too. I think they gave damn near a bigger hole than the Padres gave. But guess what? It's time for playoff baseball in Seattle. I think the addition of Luis Castillo, I think it makes him a playoff team. I think they're going. I know it's kind of like Voldemort to say, but I think this is it. I can't believe it. I think the Mariners are going to the playoffs, and that is fantastic.
Yeah.
St. Louis Cardinals coming to the home stretch here. What do you think about them?
The Cardinals. Can you brush me up on their moves again 1 second? I don't want to have a
Phillies. Yeah, sure. So they picked up Quintana.
That's right.
And Jordan Montgomery. That's basically what it was.
That's right. Yeah. The line was kind of if I had to give it a C, I think I would. No needle moving moves. If I say that 3 times fast. Yeah, no, it's tough. They got some pitching depth. Quintana's had a nice year, but to me, they're not really that threatening.
Yeah,
they could win their division. They're up and down. They're streaky. I mean, they obviously have Arenado and Goldschmidt who are world class. Goldschmidt's having a good year, but beyond that, their team is decent. Nothing's gonna blow you away.
Yeah, I mean, I gave him a B minus. I don't know. They picked up Quintana and Montgomery, but 2 lefties. That's nice. But again, they're not needle moving moves. What's the goal? Said that a couple times already. Like what? Why would you even do it? Like why would you even give up prospect capital? I don't know. If that's the move you're gonna make, like you're not. Those aren't. I want to win the World Series this year moves. And I think if you're the Cardinals, that's the moves you should have made. They're going to be a wild card team, possibly. That's what they're lining up to be. But when you look at what's on the books, Sean, and the age of their stars and the seasons they're having, I think they should have got Rodon and Soto. I mean, I think that's the kind of deadline they should have had. They got Goldschmidt at what, 37? Having I don't want to say career year. I think he's a Hall of Famer. I think he's criminally underrated, having a wonderful year, MVP type season. Arenado's having a great year. He's not old, but he's over 30 now. Yeah. You know what I mean? How many years is Goldschmidt going to be productive after this? And he's locked up too a little bit. I mean, just look at the roster. This is Wainwright's last year. It's Yachty's last year. I think for the roster that you built to win, because you got Goldschmidt and Arenado to compete. That's the whole. You did it to win a championship. You didn't do that for shits and gigs. You didn't give up $500 million for shits and gigs. This was kind of the year. Again, a shitty NL Central. No one's trying to win it. The Brewers are giving up the best closer in the game. when they're in first. Pirates are nowhere to be seen. Cubs, they're a dumpster fire. Cincinnati Reds, somehow they're hotter of a dumpster fire. It's you and the Brewers, and the Brewers don't even want to win the division. You have all this money in the team. I don't know. I think they should have been really aggressive.
Yeah, we went from the Cardinals being considered a front runner for Soto to not even, not getting him.
I think they should have got Soto in a big arm, and I think if they did, with the kind of organization they have, with the other players, Nolan and Paulie, that veteran leadership, they could be a World Series contender like that. And they had the prospect capital to do it. They had the best prospect capital to do it, the most intriguing. That was all the reports. So I think they missed the boat.
It's been a minute since the Cardinals have been real threatening. I mean, they made the playoffs, most years as they normally do, but Cardinals are kind of like the Yankees of the Midwest. They are expected to be competitive every year and be contending for a championship. As the team currently sits now, they aren't coming close to a championship. No. I mean, they could get hot. That always happens, but they've made some big moves, but they haven't exactly been growing their own talent. Like the Dodgers have always been developing talent. Cardinals have kind of hit recently in the past few years, hit a bit of a snag. I mean, they still have some nice young players, but really what has powered them through, they got Pujols, they got Yadier Molina. I mean, they had guys just coming up left and right that have kind of stopped, coming up, and they are in a weird spot. If they don't win in the next couple of years, they're going to have Goldschmidt, like you said, in upper 30s, and he has a big contract, and he won't be producing what he used to be. Arenado can only play at this level for so long. His defense will start to slip as he gets older, just natural. And you're losing the face of the franchise in Molina and Wainwright. It's kind of an interesting time. They could have gotten Soto, and he could have been the new face. He could have been the next, Albert Pujols. Obviously, Albert Pujols, big shoes to fill in that regard in St. Louis. But I think the Soto trade would have been a no-brainer if they were comfortable getting rid of those prospects.
Yeah. Well, I think the big prospect, the reason they didn't make it is our last week's player profile and Jordan Walker. So unfortunately, maybe they probably saw the prospect profile, Sean. They said, "Oh, these guys like him. We can't trade Jordan Walker," and it's understandable. It's understandable.
Yeah, fair.
Moving on to the Tampa Bay Rays, Sean. They are the Tampa Bay Rays. They got David Peralta for some reason. Jose Siri, Yeah. And they traded Brett Phillips to the Orioles just for cash. That seemed like a rude move.
Yeah, they DFA'd him, and then apparently they were looking to trade G-Man Choi. They were fielding offers on G-Man Choi.
That's batshit crazy.
I don't understand that. It's not the level of hater, but I mean, trading G-Man Choi is counterintuitive to winning.
Any organization trading G-Man Choi is counterintuitive to winning. Yeah. I mean, they probably got better. I just don't see it. It's the Rays. They got David Peralta. I don't know. They weren't going to do.
The Rays are going to Ray.
They didn't get Soto. And I'm a little disappointed. The Texas Rangers, Sean. How do you feel about the Texas Rangers this deadline?
Did they do anything?
Sean, that's the question everyone's been asking. I think the past couple of days, what did they do? And believe it or not, they traded Matt Bush to the Brewers. And that's it.
Cool. Blockbuster.
They
I heard we're one of the finalists for Castillo, which was interesting.
Yeah.
The Rangers are in a weird spot. A lot of people thought they were going to be buyers because all the money they put into the team this offseason, that they would double down and try and, I mean, they're really not. Realistically, are they going to make the wild card? No, but it's not out of the realm of possibilities. If you get hot, you win 9 of 10, and next thing you know, you're a couple games out. But I think Castillo, what they saw they liked in him was that he had year of control, so they would have had him for next year. But the Rangers are also one of those teams that are not very well run, not quite to the Rockies or Guardians, but they didn't have too much to give up, I guess. But weird situation.
Yeah, I mean, I gave them a C because they had nothing to really give up because they want to win soon.
Yeah.
They're not going to win this season, so they can't really do anything for this season, but they want to win in the next couple of years. They just signed Simeon and Seager. Like we spoke about with the White Sox, they were just White Sox for in position. So, and with older players. So they sure did the buying, but I think it's okay for the Rangers to hold. They didn't really have much to do. Second to last team here, Sean, the Toronto Blue Jays. How do you feel about what they did?
So, brush me up on their moves. I know they got Merrifield, but I believe they also got a pitcher, right?
They got Merrifield, and they also got Mitch White from the Dodgers, a guy who had been up, started a couple games for us this season, but he had just been recently sent back down, more so just because the Dodgers staff is pretty deep. But
yeah,
he had a 3.7 ERA over like 5 or 6 games. I think he's a serviceable starter.
Yeah, I think the Blue Jays probably should have addressed the starting rotation more than they did.
Yeah.
The Merrifield trade was a bit interesting just based off of they don't really have a need for an infielder right now.
Right.
They've gotten production. I forget their second baseman. I apologize, but he has had a nice year.
Santiago Espinal.
Yes, thank you, Espinal. Yes, but Merrifield's had a down year. I believe he's a free agent at year's end. I feel like that move was almost like you got to do something, so they just went with it. I don't think that he really helps the team. He doesn't hurt the team certainly, but I don't think that move really puts them over the edge. They're not winning the division. That's out of the question. So they're in the wild card, and they're a good team, but I don't know. I just think they could have used more of a frontline starter, but maybe Rodon if he ended up getting moved. But yeah, I think they had a solid, maybe like a C of a deadline. Nothing too crazy in my opinion.
Yeah, I gave him a C+. I think they were actually pretty sneaky. But the problem is I think they needed to be loud. They're one of these teams I think they really needed to do something. I think they're on the precipice of being a World Series contender, and I think they needed to do something bigger. I think Mitch White is an MLB starter just from watching with the Dodgers. He just didn't get an opportunity, a la every other Dodgers pitchers ever. So I think he'll be a serviceable starter in the staff. Do I think they should have addressed it with a more veteran arm? Absolutely. And I think we've said this about every contender, Sean. Witt plays decent defense. He puts the ball in play, and he's quick. So they did the same thing every other contender did. Someone who can play good defense and steal a base for you. One of the most efficient base stealers of the last couple seasons. I think he went like 40 stolen base with only 5 caught stealings a couple years ago, or last year even. And again, he puts the ball in play, which is something you need during the postseason. I'm glad teams are starting to realize that. It's really huge. Because they literally forgot for about 5 seasons that was important. And they got a couple decent relievers, in Bass, and the other guy they got from Miami, but they gave up Groshans, which I think was a lot, especially when they didn't give up a catching prospect when they have such an overload there with Gabriel Moreno, Alejandro Kirk, Danny Jansen. They have such a logjam. The fact that they didn't use Moreno, who's like a top 3 prospect in baseball before he got called up, to get a big name pitcher. They could have just traded him straight out. And they have no use for him right now. They brought him up and then realized they can't do anything with him because Kirk hits 350. They could have got something from Moreno.
Yeah.
And they didn't. They had like an easy overload. They had an easy thing to trade, and they didn't. Lastly, your Washington Nationals. Want to go first or second, Sean?
I'll let you go first.
Okay. I give a B +-. Same time.
Okay.
That's it. ? Is really my statement. That's it. That's all you're getting. They got a lot of quality prospects, but I think the media made it seem like it was going to be a lot more than it was. I think they were saying it was going to be, you're going to need so much bigger of a package to get him, especially once Castillo got the deal from the Reds, and you saw the package that he garnered. You're like, holy shit, what? Because Noelvi Marte was the 7th best prospect in baseball last year. He dropped a little bit because he had a slower start of the season. He's already heated back up. He's a top 10 prospect in baseball all day.
Yeah.
What is Soto going to get? We're talking top 10 in baseball. You're going to have to get the best 5 prospects in your organization. No way. It's pretty crazy. and they got two. They got Abrams and Robert Hassel, who are really, really good prospects. But then they got Josh. They had to add Josh Bell. Josh Bell on his own, I think, has the same value as Castillo. I think Josh Bell was worth one top prospect. If you tell me Josh Bell for Robert Hassel, I'd be like, that's fair.
Yeah.
So what did you trade Soto for one top prospect? Like, what are you? I can't even imagine that's the best deal you could have gotten. And I'm almost more angry at other teams like the Dodgers, who could have replaced Muncy with Bell. You know what I mean? Or the Cardinals. Every other team, like, why could you not match that package? Unless the Nationals said that's the package they wanted, I possibly, but I just think they absolutely got fleeced. I think they should have waited an extra year or wait to the off season, because I don't think there's no way that's the best you're going to get for Juan Soto. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I mean, as I said before, I think they should wait to the offseason as well, because you could have got more. That trade without Josh Bell, and I still think the Nationals didn't get what they should have gotten. They add Josh Bell in there, and I don't know. I don't know what they were thinking. Apparently, the talk was they needed to dump Corbin's contract. The Padres got him without dumping Corbin's contract. Still on the Nationals. They really have no clear direction. They also did not trade Nelson Cruz, which I think was just bizarre, because why not? What do you have to lose in trading Nelson Cruz, who's a proven DH? I thought that was kind of weird. I don't know. I mean, if you look at the players they've lost over the years, it's going to take some serious, like, I don't know, rebuilding, serious. Their brand is damaged, put it that way. I mean, they have lost superstar after superstar. Last year they traded away Trey Turner and Max Scherzer for not that much, when they didn't even have to trade Trey Turner. I don't know what's going on there. The prospects, yeah, they're good, but they're prospects. That's the thing. I mean, I talk about all the time. I like prospects. I'm usually conservative when it comes to that. But at the end of the day, prospects, they're not a proven commodity. There's so many prospects who are supposed to be good and just don't pan out. I mean, Jerks and Profile, we make jokes all the time about it. The guy never panned out to what he was. You got Juan Soto, who's a 23-year-old stud, and you, instead of building around him, you subtract every good player on the team. So why would, I mean, they could give him all the money in the world, he wouldn't have said yes to re-sign there, because he would have been on a last place team the next 5 to 10 years. They got nothing. They got no pitching. They got no hitting. I mean, they have done it to themselves. And I mean, I had a feeling that they were probably going to get an underwhelming package, just because it's hard to value a guy like Soto. I mean, it just gets to a point where he's someone so good, it's almost impossible to trade them. I mean, look at Kevin Durant and the Nets in the NBA. But the Nationals, the fact Rizzo still has a job is pretty impressive, after all of the moves. I mean, I remember when the whole Strasburg thing was going on when he was a rookie about the innings limit. And that was a controversial thing. He made it through that and has still been there over 10 years later. That's beside the point. But I don't know. Trading Juan Soto is just, at the deadline, to me, you got to wait. You got to wait to the offseason when there's more moving parts. People are more willing to get rid of players. But they got Luke Voit back. So, I mean, World Series or bust 2023 coming your way, Nationals.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I'm going to add is I just thought of something when you said it. They're supposed to get rid of Patrick Corbin's contract. And if not for Eric Hosmer just not being interested to go in their hellhole, they would have took on Eric Hosmer's contract. Not only were they not going to give up Corbin's, they're going to take on Hosmer's contract.
The Padres could have eaten some of the contract they're doing with the Red Sox.
Yeah.
I don't know. But still, I don't know. They are worse now than they were when they just became the Nationals from the Expos. Remember how bad they were back then? They are that times like 10. They are so bad.
They're bad.
I couldn't even name more than 3 starters on their team. Maybe not even 3. And we do a baseball podcast. That is not an indictment on us in any way, shape, or form. They have nobody. They have Josiah Gray. Keibert Ruiz. I think they still have Alcides Escobar. They didn't trade Nelson Cruz. I mean, we could honestly do an episode. Who could you name more players from? The Marlins, the Nationals, or what's another bad team out there?
Orioles, I still don't know a lot of the Orioles.
Yeah.
The younger guys.
Like me and you live and breathe baseball.
Yeah.
And we can't name players. Like this, at least the old Nationals way back when had Alfonso Soriano, that white fat guy who was on, not fat, but he was on the Yankees for a little
Adam
while.
Dunn?
Not Adam Dunn. He was like a first baseman. What was his name?
White first base on the Yankees too? Mark Reynolds?
No, I'm going to find this. I'm going to find it out. So I'm going to look up 2000.
They had Danny Espinosa.
But I just got to do it now.
Danny Espinosa, Ian Desmond. They had
it was a little. Those were a little later.
Those were a little later.
Later.
Earlier than that.
Come on. I'm sorry to do this. I don't mean to be.
No, they want to know. Everyone's interested in guessing at home now.
Yeah.
White first baseman, bigger. Played on the Yankees as well.
Nick Johnson.
Oh, for fuck's sake! I would have never got Nick Johnson from you.
That is a throwback. Anyway, the Nationals are worse now than they were then. Nick Johnson. My God. Played for the Yankees before he was on the Nationals, and then he almost finished his career with the Yankees. I don't think he was good. He had like one good year. Anyway, the Nationals are in trouble.
What was his one good year?
Let me pull it back out.
What did he do? Like,
1 second. His one good year. The year was, I guess he had 2 good years, but his best year was 2006 with the Nationals. 77 ribbies, 110 walks, 23 home runs. Where's batting average? 290 average, and only 99 strikeouts.
That's a year. More walks than strikeouts? Holy shit. You don't see that shit.
Slugging percentage of 520.
What's his OBP? His OBP's got to be over 400.
428.
428?
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. That's Barry Bonds out there.
Yeah.
Good for
147 games.
Would he win MVP? I mean, he would have in this day and age. I mean, he probably got DFA'd. And then in 2006, they weren't interested in that.
And after that, his career high in RBIs was 44.
That's a year. I saw a guy on the street the other day. This will be it, guys. We'll send you off after this. You can guess along with Sean. But I saw a guy on the street the other day, and I was like, that guy really looks like this guy. I'll give you 3 hints. Pitcher, okay? American League, AL Central, when we were around. But there was a distinguishing characteristic about his face that made me think he looked like this fellow.
Jose Valverde?
No. White fellow as well.
Oh, okay.
A piece of facial hair that was like, oh, wow. That guy.
The old strip.
AL Central.
Okay. White Sox?
Nope.
Okay.
Minnesota Twins.
Minnesota Twins. Not John Roush, right?
No. Starting pitcher.
Phil Hughes in the Yankees at first.
You're going to kill yourself if I tell you now. Mustache. That's the last hint. Can't give you more than that.
Mustache.
When we were kids. Probably 10. This guy was slinging it.
I don't know.
Shares the name with a character on Jimmy Neutron. Do you remember the characters on Jimmy Neutron?
I'm trying to think of them.
Okay. What the chubby guy with the red hair? What was his name? God, do you not remember Jimmy Neutron, Sean?
Oh, Carl.
Okay. Carl. You got it.
Was it Carl Pavano? Is that his name?
Carl Pavano, you got it, Sean. You got it.
Yankee great.
Carl Pavano. Hell of a stash.
Yeah. You know who I
Hell
saw
of-
at the Hall of Fame?
Who?
CC Sabathia. Looking slender as ever. The
I
man
was
is a
gonna
twig.
say, how slender is he looking?
He looks like he could play for the New York Knicks. He's tall and skinny and great guy, by the way. Great guy.
Yeah, no, I mean CC is an absolute wonderful fella.
He is.
If we could all be CC Sabathia, Sean, I think the world would be a better place.
Absolutely.
Close out on this. I'm gonna screen share a photo of Carl Pavano, and that'll be the end of our trade deadline video, guys. I hope to see you next time. This has been the 10th Inning Podcast. God bless your souls.